This Thanksgiving holiday, why not head to the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting? That is Bet Online. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, Bet Online provides you with constant real-time odds in action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, and college basketball, NHL, to the UFC and boxing. Head to the website today to see why Bet Online is America's most trusted site for online wagering. Bet Online, the game starts here.
Oh, it's been a while. It has been a long time. But welcome, everyone, to the Fly Guys podcast, a Sunday night edition, a post-Philadelphia Eagles win edition. Justin Goodhart, Cameron Klein over in Marblehead, Massachusetts.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
Got it this time. I know where you live.
That's the one.
Cameron, we got so much to talk about, and there's going to be so much to say about that hockey team in Philadelphia that has all of a sudden gone from, well, we're on tank watch to now, oh, they got something here. And we'll talk about all the reasons why they've all of a sudden turned things around. Before we hop into anything, I'm going to taper back the jazziness and the rhythm of this a little bit. It has been a while since we did a show. I think it's been 2.5 weeks, almost 3 weeks.
Yeah, about 2 weeks, yeah.
A lot has been going on. And I want to go ahead and turn things over to Cameron, who I just want to say before you go into everything, I just want to let you know, Cameron is not only someone that I love deeply, but also someone that I care about a lot. And he's obviously been going through a tough time. And so, Cameron, I just wanted to let you have the floor.
No, I appreciate it, dude. I appreciate it. I won't take too much time. Just taking this moment really quick before we get jumping into everything. Part of the reason for the long delay was a passing in the family. My grandfather on my father's side passed away. Great man, Richard Klein. It was tough. It's been tough for the family, but we've all pulled together. Our support system has been there. It's been fantastic. He was a great man, great father. Raised an amazing family, a beautiful home. So many great memories, from every Christmas party we had there to going over there during the flower show when it was me, Uncle Brian, Dad, all the boys watching all the movies that we were not supposed to be watching. Those kinds of things. So it's a deeply sad moment, but at the same time, he had a great life. He was a great man, and he raised a great family. So very sad to hear that he went. But also left a great legacy behind him. And before we move on as well, I just want to shout out to a friend of the family as well is going through a tough time. Justin doesn't know them too much. I don't know if I've even mentioned them before, but just a shout out to the Getter family who is also dealing with the passing as well. They're very, very close to my father. They're basically like the family he never had, and they're going through a tough time as well. So all condolences to them as well. With that being said, let's move on to the show. Let's talk about the Philadelphia Flyers, and I thank you all for the time, and I thank Justin for all of his help as well. He was a big part of that support throughout this entire time. So thank you all to everybody who listens, gives me the confidence to do this, and I'm very, very excited. Now that I've taken some time, dealt with some grief, I'm very excited to get back into it and talk some successful Flyers hockey who, luckily during this tough time, have not made it any worse. So that is nice. That is very
they have not. And again, yes, we love you, Cameron. We know we listen. At the end of the day, we know on this show, the fans of this that listen to us, they listen for you more than they listen for me. So, we love you, man, and we're here for your family, and obviously for the Getter family as well. Like, just all condolences to them for what they're going through. As for what has happened in the sports world, which, as we all know, is used as a distraction, the Philadelphia Flyers. When we last spoke, now I have to go back and I have to look at the Flyers' schedule because it's like I said, it's been a while.
Yeah.
But when we last spoke, we were basically talking about what things we were worried about.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about the fact that there's bad habits, Cameron. Some guys just aren't putting up the stuff that they need to put up. They barely beat a San Jose Sharks team in a shootout.
Yeah.
They then had a couple good games here and there, but then ultimately, had disappointing showings against the Carolina Hurricanes. They had lost a tough one against the Colorado Avalanche, which is excusable because it's the Avalanche, although they got their own problems over there right now. And we just didn't know, where is this team going to be at the end of November?
Yeah.
And where they are is unbelievably, they're 12-10-3. they're basically right there with the New York Rangers for one of the wild card spots in the playoffs as we sit here today on December 1st at 8:42 in the evening. And more importantly, the way that they have looked over the last few weeks, even when you include in that Carolina game, because remember, it was a tied game going into the third period.
Yeah.
The Flyers blew a 3-0 lead against the Vegas Golden Knights. The Flyers took an overtime win over the Chicago Blackhawks. The Flyers had to steal one in Nashville, and they did.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about some of the heroes from that game. But the biggest two performances of the season so far in back-to-back days coming over against the New York Rangers, a team that has owned us for years. Their fans flood our building.
Yeah.
They get more of a draw than we do.
Yeah.
And the Flyers don't just beat them, Cameron. They beat them into the sand.
Yeah.
They beat
demolished
them
them
3-1, and they extended that New York losing streak to then 5 games. They've since broken that losing streak. Good for them. The next day, not a letdown performance. They go right back to work. They have a hard-fought game against the now Jim Montgomery-led St. Louis Blues. They have a 2-1 lead. Bad penalty for Travis Konechny. Should it have been called? Who knows? The Blues tied the game with 18 seconds left. Overtime play. Travis Konechny,
makes up for it.
Unbelievable.
Makes up for it.
Springs a breakaway to Matvei Michkov against Jordan Binnington, who had been goalieing us the entire night. And Cameron and I, we'll talk about this as well in a second. But Cameron and I briefly mentioned Binnington should be this good all the time, and he's not. But he was killing us last night. But Michkov scores the goal, extends the Flyers' point streak to 5 games, 3 wins in a row now. And all I have to say is this, Cameron, it just feels different right now with the way that they played in November. They're playing with confidence, and they are playing with, honestly, a swagger about them, that hard-nosed Flyers hockey that we talked about last year. We want to be hard to beat. Well, they're pretty damn hard to beat right now.
Yeah, it feels like how last year ended. It feels not even ended. Shouldn't say that. How last February felt.
Yes.
It's starting to feel like, okay, they not only are they winning. The St. Louis Blues game, it was frustrating, like you said, with the penalty and how they got tied up, because they dominated them. They dominated them. I mean,
they should have won in regulation.
They should have won in regulation, which is you deserve criticism for, honestly, with the way you've been playing. We were worried about October. We mentioned it multiple times. With John Torella saying he's going to shuffle the lines, we don't know what we're going to get. We're hoping for more consistency in November. Halfway through, we were still a little wishy-washy, but I feel like the last 2 weeks have been relatively consistent, minus maybe that Carolina game where they got the brakes beat off.
You know what? That's a very interesting point that you make. Todd Fedoruk and Tim Saunders made the same mention on the radio going into the game last night against St. Louis about how the lines have been more consistent, and maybe now you're just seeing these guys gel.
Again, that was Tortorella's whole thing. He was like, we're going to see who works best together. And maybe we're starting to figure it out. Maybe we're getting closer to that, which is fantastic. Dude, like the New York Ranger thing, I that was the only game I was not able to watch out of these games, unfortunately. Obviously, of course it is, because it's the best one, right? And because I was driving
the Rangers,
home.
who, for those who don't know, that is the team Cameron hates the most.
It's more than Pittsburgh, because it's New York. Because it's New York, and they think that they have. I get it. It's the most populated city. I get it. It's like the global center of this country and a commerce center of the world. But it's not that big of a deal. It's not that great, dude. All right. So that was the one that felt the best. That was the one that felt the best. So no, I think we're starting to get a lot more consistency. The thing that's I was texting you about today was I love you. You brought it up. Kolosov is making Danny Briere's job difficult. And
very difficult right now.
That is a great problem to have. That is what he wanted. That's what he complained about last year. He wanted to play in the NHL. At least that's the rumor, right? That's what was reported, is that he wants to play in the NHL, and they wanted to send him down to the AHL and yada yada yada. Well, he has his opportunity, and he's making the absolute most of them. He was fantastic last night against the St. Louis Blues.
Yep.
So it's really, really encouraging to see, considering goaltending was such a major problem earlier on as well. That not only is there consistency within the other lines as they've stayed the same, but there's also consistency in the goaltending play as well, and you need all of it. So yeah, maybe it was just a nice week, but it's feeling pretty good.
It was a good week. It was a good week, and maybe that's how you have to approach it with this team, especially because we know how quickly it can turn, especially with the way last year went. but I wanted, and I said I wanted to do like flowers of the week. Who should we be giving flowers of the week to?
Yeah.
And I had mine and immediately picked out after the win against the New York Rangers.
Hmm.
And that guy's name is Ivan Fedotov.
Yeah.
Last
Yeah.
6 games, 4-1-1 with a .909 save percentage and a goals against average of .264. He has been flashing the pre-Siberian prison hell potential that he had when the Flyers wanted him to come over. And that Rangers game was no joke. I don't think it's easy. I think the Kolosov game gets more love because obviously Kolosov had to do a lot to stand on his head for the Flyers in that game against the Blues and in that game against the Nashville Predators as well. Remember, he kept them in that game.
Yeah.
But with Fedotov, he saw no action in that first period because the Flyers dominated that hard. The Rangers get 2 point-blank opportunities that 4 weeks ago, I think Ivan Fedotov would have let them through. He stonewalls them. He keeps it at a 2-0 game. The Rangers are not able to, eat into that Flyers lead until later in the game. And honestly, we've just seen much better goaltending. Maybe he's not minding block shots as much. Maybe he's just seeing the puck a little better. But whatever it is, it's making Danny Briere's job hard on that end too, because you got the Urson coming back at some point. You have 3 goalies right now that are, you have 2 goalies that are playing really well, and then you have 1 goalie in Urson who we know what he's capable of when he's playing at the top of his game.
Yeah, exactly. He can be a starting goaltender when he's playing at his best. The problem is he's not always the most consistent, which again is what you kind of expected from him all along. But still, it's exciting. I am glad that he is also the guy we're choosing for the Flowers as well, because that is a guy who we literally mocked at one point in the title of one of our episodes about 3 episodes ago. And there's nothing I love more. I've been thinking about this a lot recently. There's nothing I love more. Nothing tastes better than my own words when it means success for the Philadelphia Flyers. Nothing tastes better. Travis Sanheim, oh man, it tasted good.
Oh,
it tasted good. And this past couple games, you pointed out to me, and yeah, it's probably because he's mostly on the line with Travis Konecny and Matvei Michkov and Sean Couturier, or he's out there with those 3. But Rasmus Ristolainen
playing much better.
I mean,
playing much better.
Did he score a point last night? I don't think he did, but he had 4 games in a row before last night.
But the thing is, even if he didn't, against the Blues,
he did not. But still,
he gets the puck, in his own zone, and he turns away from would-be, attackers and all that stuff, and he gets the puck out of the zone. That's what I want out of Rasmus Ristolainen. When the puck is in trouble, get it out of the net. That's what I want. Oh my God, I remind myself of my father right there, the way I talk. But it is there's a lot of guys you could go with. You could go with Emil Andre. You could go with...
He's so fun, dude. He's just like this fireball, just this kid who's just excited, and he just brings the energy. I very much enjoy watching him play.
He is what I think Jamie Drysdale should be right now. Just fun, quick, making smart decisions with the puck. York since he's come back, I've liked the way that York has played.
Yeah.
Obviously, Travis Sanheim is in the midst of another great stretch in his career, and you just hope that continues. He's not making any big mistakes. He's doing a good job.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about him in a little bit, though. Let's talk about Matvei Michkov for a second. Cameron,
what is there to say?
There's 19 points in 23 games. He has tied Ilya Kovalchuk and Sidney Crosby for most goals scored in overtime by a teenager with 3. And if I'm mentioning you in the same conversations as Ilya Kovalchuk and Sidney Crosby, you're doing something right, I would say.
Yeah, and he's probably, knock on wood, and this desk that I'm on is wood, he's probably going to break that. Given the trajectory he's on.
We had a lot of games left, and the Flyers go to overtime like every game.
You text me, you said, another overtime game, and within a minute I texted back and I said, and another Matvei Michkov game winner. So, yeah, I would put money on him breaking that. But, yeah, man, he's different. He's real. I mean, we've said it 1,000 times, and that's probably the reason why we haven't talked about him, is because it's like, yeah, he's still really that good.
Like, there's so many things. Like, Travis Konecny is playing so worth that contract.
The
way that he contributes and everything, and even on goals that don't happen, like shots that get saved. Matvei Michkov's feed to Tyson Forrester for a one-timer right in front of Igor Shesterkin, he creates so many different opportunities. But the biggest thing about him for me is the fact that you get a chance to win a game, a couple times in a month maybe, and he takes advantage of them. He is
Yeah.
seizing the means of opportunity, seizing the means of production in the motherland, and he is winning these games outright for the Flyers. I said it to Cameron. The Flyers are a communism because they tried to give Matvei Michkov the belt last night, and he says, yeah, but this goes to Kolosov because of the way he played. I'm like, see, when we all share our crops, everyone wins in the farmland.
Dude, it was it reminded me of like Animal Farm, where it's like, well,
It
we're all
really
equal.
was Animal Farm.
We're all equal, but Kolosov, he's a little more equal tonight. He's a little more equal tonight.
And he was more equal last night.
No, he was. He was the reason. He was the reason they were in that game.
For Michkov, I like. What do you think? I mean, listen. Some people think it's not a big deal. Cameron, wouldn't you say that those who can finish in those moments, there is something to be said about those players?
Yeah, man, that's what we've been. We haven't seen that since fucking Simone Gagne, dude. Like, it's been that long, and yeah, it's nice. It's nice. We've talked 1,000 times before in the past decade about how we need a goal scorer. We need a goal scorer. We need a goal scorer. And he still has more assists than he does have goals.
Yep.
And in that time, we've had a couple 30 goal scorers. TK, Wayne Simmons hit it the one time. Giroux, Couturier, they've hit 30. That's great. That's nice. But you need a guy, like you said, who, when it's in that moment, when the Capitals are down by one goal, everyone's eyes are on Ovechkin in that moment.
Yep.
When the Penguins are down, for the longest time, it was Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, those guys. It's becoming Matvei Michkov for the Philadelphia Flyers. When you go into overtime, where is he? Where's 39 at? Where is he? Every single time. And when you have a guy like that and he's 19 years old, it's a confidence booster. And I'll say, speaking of goaltending, speaking of goal scoring, that pass for that not the Tyson Forrester goal, whatever.
Owen Tippett. It was last night, the Owen Tippett goal.
Oh, my God.
He waits until the final minute to get that pass. And I really thought that Blues player was going to catch him from behind and like get a stick on his stick, and just, it wouldn't be a good pass. But he creates his own space. He creates his own passes, clearly.
Yeah.
And like, that is something, and this is not to besmirch any of the Flyers players, but let's besmirch them for a second. No one else is making that pass.
No. I'm speechless after that pass because most people don't make that pass. I'd like to think that Giroux could, but I don't know, man. That was honestly a special timing pass to me.
The pass, actually, it's funny. The pass reminded me. This is where my brain goes. I see the pass and I think Braden Shen to Wayne Simmons in Game 6 of the 2014 quarterfinal matchup with the Rangers.
Yeah.
And you know what the thing was? Braden Shen, if you go back and look at that play, he fanned on that pass. And it just made its way, I think, through Dan Girardi to Wayne Simmons for a slam dunk goal. But that was what I thought of. I was like, you don't see that too often with the Flyers. You saw it a lot more when Gagne was here, because Gagne would be by the net front presence, and then someone like a Peter Forsberg would get it to him. Yeah. So again, if I'm mentioning Peter Forsberg in the same breath as someone like Matvei Michkov, things are going well in this what will hopefully be a Calder season. And
I can't speak too soon, but I mean he's in the conversation. I mean he's very much in the conversation.
From what I've seen, Celebrini is having a good season. Macklin Celebrini's doing well, and some have even said that there might even be a chance that Celebrini sees the playoffs before Connor Bedard, which I would love to see. I would love to laugh at the Chicago Blackhawks' ineptitude further for that, but it does come back to the fact that he instills such a belief in the Flyers that if they're down a goal, maybe they have their mini Ovechkin. They got a guy that if they get the puck to him, he can make something happen.
Yeah.
You look at the way other guys score their goals on this team. Tyson Forrester, he doesn't snipe one. Tyson Forrester jams by the net and waits for a rebound, or a puck comes loose and he slams it home. And there's value in that, no doubt.
100%.
He's not sniping it from close to the face-off circle. He's not doing that.
No.
And Travis Konechny, as great as he's been, he creates his own space. He can make his own goals, but we haven't had, other than him, there had been no one that could get that kind of space. And now they have it.
Yeah, they're not shooting at the goal line near side on Linus Ullmark, on a Vezina winning goaltender, and hitting it. You know what I mean? No, you're right. You're right. So it's special. I really don't know what else there is to say. It's like Matvei Michkov is good. Yep, moving on. And it's extremely exciting, but it just doesn't get better than that. And I will say, as much as we joked about, you were joking about the sharing of the belt and all that kind of stuff, to me, the fact that he did highlight Kolosov after that win, and he made the effort to be like, no, this was more of him. That also speaks well
Locker
to the
room
team.
cancer, right? That's what I heard from his hockey club in Sochi.
Well,
Locker room cancer.
Yeah, well,
Terrible.
where's that information coming from? We don't know. We don't know.
By the way, while
I
you
would
were
say
speaking,
what happened? What happened?
uh,
I can't watch the game. I'm so excited to watch this game because is there snow everywhere? There's snow
there's snow
everywhere.
everywhere. There's snow everywhere.
Fuck.
I'm like 99% certain that Christian McCaffrey just tore his hamstring
Oh, great. All right.
because
Okay.
he
Have
takes
him.
a
I have
pitch
him in a
out
fantasy
to the
league. There we
right
go.
and
Oh, there it is.
immediately starts hobbling and then slides down on the snow because he couldn't run anymore.
Oh, there it is. And there it is. Nail in the coffin.
Yeah, they got to be careful. But so for Philly, as we get back to the Flyers for a second, because we're going to talk football. Oh, we're talking football tonight, people. I got something to say about football tonight.
Oh yeah. A bear was poked. Ladies and gentlemen.
I sent Cameron. I don't want to get into details because I don't know who listens and everything, but I sent him something tonight that had been sent to me, and I was just like, bet.
What?
All right. It was out of love, but also,
yeah.
I am pretty competitive.
Yeah.
So for
I
the
would
Flyers,
never like my I know you well enough where it's like I'm not even gonna. Honestly, even when the Eagles are playing, I just let it go. Just let it. He's going through it. Let him go through it.
For the Flyers, they returned. They're off for a couple days. They come back. Interesting stretch they have coming up. They have the Florida Panthers at home. Then they have the Boston Bruins on the road at 1:00 because the NHL gods and the NHL schedule makers have not yet learned that we don't do well at 1:00. No less on the freaking road. No less in Boston.
Yeah. I will say Boston. They have been struggling. They won today against Montreal, but even firing Jim Montgomery might not have solved all their problems. But we'll see. I don't know.
Well, I'm a little concerned for Boston at this point as to it. They feel very top heavy, and then once you get past that top, there's not a whole lot underneath. It's like like a Pittsburgh, like a slightly younger version of Pittsburgh right now, where Pittsburgh's. I could talk about Pittsburgh all day.
No, I think that's a fair comparison.
And then Sunday, the day after the 1:00 game against Boston, for the first time ever, Flyers versus the Utah Hockey Club. I'm going to be at the Eagles game that day at 1:00, and I haven't done it yet. I haven't bought my ticket yet, but I'm thinking I'm going to double dip. I'm like fairly certain I want to double dip and just go to the Flyers game that night.
I mean, you'd be able to just walk right over. Who are the Eagles playing at? I don't even know.
Carolina Panthers.
1:00, I'm guessing. Yeah, who wants?
Yeah, it's definitely a 1:00. That's not a 4:30 game.
Who wants to see the Panthers anywhere close to prime time? Yeah, that would be pretty cool, dude. That'd be fun.
So I haven't bought the ticket yet, but I was thinking about it. I'll ask my brother Grant because I'm taking him to the Eagle game if he wants to do the Flyers game with me. Yeah. My gut tells me he will want nothing to do with the Flyers game, and he'll just tell me to go enjoy it. But
never met Grant. Sounds like a great, lovely young man. However, everything you've told me tells me he probably won't either. But you never know.
It was funny because I texted him after the Eagles game, and we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll talk about the Eagles game. But it was just. I was just like, great win. Like, I try to just keep it very simple.
Yeah.
And I always love it when Grant gives me his little quips because it tells me that, he's, let's talk about it. Just text me, always surprised by how many bad sacks Lamar takes. And I'm like,
he's right, though.
Let's talk football, Grant. And then I say something back, and he's just like, then he just goes, yeah. And I'm just like, all right, he's done talking. But yeah, so we're going to take a quick commercial break. Flyers killing it. We love it. The Eagles won tonight, people. I want to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles for a few minutes. And I can because it's my show. And if you're a Flyers fan out there, you're probably an Eagles fan out there, and you're probably jazzed about tonight's win. So we'll be right back with Eagles coverage. Welcome back to the Fly Guys podcast on a Victory Sunday night here as I'm sitting in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Cameron's sitting in Marblehead. And Cameron, when they beat up on the Rams, I thought, okay, they did what they needed to do. The
Yeah.
whole week, I'm like, if Devontae Smith doesn't play, I just don't know if this offense will have the gas to get it done against the Ravens.
A reasonable thought.
A
Yeah.
reasonable thought.
Yeah.
But you know what I didn't think about? I didn't think about the fact that this Eagles defense was going to be ready to step up and handle the best offense in the NFL, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what they did.
Yeah.
Philadelphia, after falling behind 9-0, save for the garbage time touchdown, which, pissed me off that they even got that because I really wanted them to pitch a shutout in the second half.
Yeah.
Outscored the Ravens, who I think are a phenomenal team, 24-3.
One of the best teams in the AFC. One of the best teams in the AFC. Yeah.
And also, in doing so, effectively gave the Pittsburgh Steelers the AFC North Division now, with the Steelers winning today over Cincinnati.
Which they deserve. Because Mike Tomlin deserves it, because he knows how to coach. Sorry.
I'm very impressed with what Pittsburgh has done this season. But this is not about
good
Pittsburgh.
For him, good for Russell Wilson, good for Justin Fields. I could not be more happy for Pittsburgh, to be honestly. Go on.
They're a good story. I like their story. And we'll see them in Philadelphia in a couple of weeks, especially.
Yeah.
Philadelphia today, it wasn't clicking on offense. In the second quarter, they finally found something, and that something's name is A.J. Brown. They went to A.J. Brown more, then Dallas Goedert gets the touchdown, Hurts gets the tush-push touchdown, and they're up 14-9, and I'm like, okay, well, we're at least get to the half winning. And even with the Tucker field goal, I was like 14-12. Considering how poorly that first quarter went, I'm thrilled that they're winning right now.
Yeah.
As the game went on, here come the Ravens. First drive, second half. They march down the field. They take a sack, a bad sack for Lamar Jackson on third down. You can't take that sack.
Some might call it typical. Go on.
It's Lamar typical. Justin Tucker lines up for a 47-yard field goal, and just I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He missed the extra point already at that point in the game, and then he hooked that one. I don't know.
I don't know what's going on with him.
I don't know what to say. And then the Eagles do nothing with that ensuing drive. They go 3-and-out, back to Baltimore. Here comes Baltimore. Bing, bang, boom. That's a great offense they have. Back into field goal range. They have a 53-yard field goal attempt. And for the first time in my life, I was like, I'm glad they're kicking it. I want them to kick a field goal because I don't think this guy's going to make it.
Yeah,
and
wild.
And he pushed it. And I was like, this kicker he's either got the yips or he's just not good anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Because I remember he said 2 weeks ago, he was like, oh, I think I figured it out, and then missed more kicks, and it's just like, that's never a good sign. If you think you figured it out and then you didn't, that's not great.
Coming into this season, he was still statistically and probably the greatest kicker in NFL history. He might kick himself out of that role, out of that title by the end of the season. He's missed 10 kicks now. It's just unacceptable.
He's
by
never
his
missed
standards
more than
and by
8 in a
anyone's
single.
Standard.
Never missed more than 8 in a single season.
So it's bad. I feel for Tucker because kickers. I feel like kicking is so mental. A lot of the time, kickers can really get in their own head.
Yeah.
You need the laces out. The snap needs to be great. The holder needs to. You have to be familiar with your holder, and I do really think that it's a mental thing. And if he doesn't figure it out, then the Ravens are going to cut him in the offseason. Because as great as he's been and as much as he's done for all of you for Baltimore Nation, this is a league that predicates itself on what have you done for me lately. And Justin Tucker cost the Ravens 6 points today. And some might say that he's cost the Ravens games this season.
Yeah.
Like that Pittsburgh game, which looms large right now.
Yeah.
But Philadelphia, Cameron, this is a team that, they don't have the hottest starts. They don't get off the ball quick enough in the first quarter, but they stick with you, and they're a very hard team to put away early. And then once it's the second half, it just feels like that their interior, their trenches just wear you down to the point where they're able to just take over a game. And there goes Saquon Barkley with 65 more yards in the fourth quarter, another 100 rushing yard game. Philly puts it away. One of the most incredible wins of the season but more importantly, I think just one of the most impressive wins the Eagles have had in a while on the road against a great offensive team, and their defense won it for them today.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I knew that Philadelphia was going to move the ball because my opinion was, well, the Ravens have their rushing defense, their defensive line is solid, but their secondary defense is where their bread and butter is. So I knew, I was like, Philadelphia, if they stick with their game plan of rushing the ball, which they have been ever since Nick Sirianni yelled at the fans, they have been relatively sticking with the run, which is what they should be doing, what they probably should have been doing all along, and not just getting discouraged away from it. So I was expecting them to move the ball, and like you said, it was really what it came down to the defense, and they made the Ravens look stagnant out there, which is extremely impressive when they have arguably the best RPO combination with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry.
Yep.
The problem is that the Eagles have an equally, if not better, one, and their defense just played hard. One play in particular, I'm hoping you remembered. I imagine you would. Nothing major, not a major play. Derrick Henry just a handoff to the near side. He ends up kind of getting tripped up. As he's getting tripped up, C.J. Gardner-Johnson stood him up.
Pops him. It was early on in the game.
You do not see Derrick Henry get stonewalled. And granted, it wasn't like he was just by himself running a full force. He was kind of on his way down, whatever. But to see something like that, and to see C.J. Gardner-Johnson standing over top of Derrick Henry, actively talking smack to his face, that was a swag-inducing moment for that team. That was a powerful moment right there.
And then how did the game essentially finish for the Ravens, with a pass to Derrick Henry and then a rookie cornerback pile driving him into the ground in Cooper DeJean. The Eagles' defense, I thought, had been getting a little overrated over the last few weeks. You know, people were saying it's the number one defense in football, and I'm like, I don't think they're the number one defense in football.
They have played weaker offenses and stuff.
I was save for, I mean, the LA game was impressive. I thought Cincinnati was very impressive.
Yep.
But, you're not wowing me by holding the Dallas Cowboys with Cooper Rush to 6 points. You're not wowing me with holding the Giants to 3 points. You're not wowing me with, taking apart the Cleveland Browns offense. Like that stuff, that doesn't impress me. It's what you should be doing. It's what a good team does.
Yeah.
So when people say, "Oh, they're the best defense in football," I'm like, "Nah, I don't think they're the best defense in football. They're a good defense. They can be better." Today, they proved they're the best defense in football to me. It didn't always look pretty, and they didn't always get a lot of pressure on Lamar Jackson. And a couple times, Lamar was able to make plays with his legs, as he's able to do pretty much every week. But the Eagles basically made it so that the only way the Ravens were going to make more plays is Lamar had to do more of that, running around, scrambling, throw on the run, create extra time for himself. Off of the set plays that the Ravens were going to run, step back, drop passer, and Lamar Jackson, the Eagles weren't going to let him do anything. And they didn't.
Yeah.
Zay Flowers, pretty much after the second quarter, I thought he was a bit of a non-factor. The Eagles' defense won this game.
Yeah.
And the offense I knew was not going to be great today, because I just think that Ravens defense is so much better than what their numbers had shown.
Yeah, fair.
And the
Baltimore's
Eagles didn't have
tough to play.
Devontae Smith, which is, that's a huge absence for them.
True.
But this, I had them losing this game, Cameron. I woke up and I was like, they're losing. They're going to lose. And I was like, and I'm okay with it. They're going to lose, but they'll have a chance to bounce back against Carolina next week. I think they might have it. I think they have the it factor that I've seen once before in a championship season, and I've definitely seen twice when they would get to the Super Bowl in 2004 and 2022. This team just feels like they have it.
They look for real. You got to be very, very careful. But again, it's the Philadelphian way. We're going all the way, baby.
This is it, baby. Jalen Hurts.
No. In all seriousness, no. It is. It looks very much for real. And today was a big testament of that, because the Baltimore Ravens, which is one of the best offenses in the league, right, looked lost in their own building.
Yep.
That's
their own
very
building,
impressive.
with right around the same amount of rest time that Philadelphia would have gotten, like maybe a day late. But I think what really did it for me in this game was the fact that you outscored them 24-3 after you were down 9-0. You came back against a team that, with their offensive prowess, should be effectively impossible to come back against.
Yeah. Yeah, they should, if they're outpacing you, they should just outrace you. They should start lapping you. That's
Mm-hmm.
the offense that the Baltimore Ravens have. And I do got to say though, the one flaw that I have with Lamar Jackson is, as Grant put it, the bad sacks, man. The bad sacks. They're killing me.
There, two of them that he took. I just don't know what he's thinking. I mean, he's holding onto the ball forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah. And it's the guy can move like Vic, if not better. Like I just
better.
don't. Yeah, yeah. I'm almost like afraid to say that sometimes because it's like I don't want to. You know,
I think Vic is faster than Lamar was at their fastest peak. I'd have to see the sports science behind that.
Yeah.
But Lamar, just because he's such a good thrower, which Vic was not as good of a thrower. Yeah. Lamar can do so much more with his legs, and when Lamar decides to take off, he does it just as well, if not better, than Michael Vick ever did.
Yeah, even though it was at the end of the game and it kind of meant nothing. Like that 40-yard run he ran was yeah, and it just looked like he was just kind of like jogging in the park. Like there was a point at one point in the game where he was escaping the pocket, and my wife just was like, tackle him, and I was just like, I was like,
I know, Olivia. Trust me, I was probably saying the same thing.
I was like, you sound like my father, and then she's like, that guy was jogging after him. I'm like, he wasn't jogging. He was not jogging. That's how fast he's ridiculous.
There was a third down play. I think it was early in the second half, and Lamar has a guy that he can throw. I think it was Isaiah Likely he could have thrown the ball to, but it's one-on-one matchup there. And then Eagles players are like, do we go after him? Do we stay put? And then he ends up running for the first down. And I'm like, I want to be mad. I was like, but like, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
You can't do anything.
Yeah. You can chase after him, and then he's going to duck and juke or lob it over your head 70 yards. Or he's just going to take off and do whatever he wants anyway. Yeah, he's a difficult guy. It frustrates me when he takes sacks like that.
There's so much to love about Baltimore. There really is. I think, though, that they hamper their own offense so much. I thought in the second quarter they got away from Derrick Henry. I honestly thought Derrick Henry should have touched the ball 30 times against the Eagles. The Eagles' defensive rush is not the strong suit of their defense. Their strong suit is their secondary right now, which hopefully Reed Blankenship will be okay. But I can't say enough how proud I am of this team, because this is a team win. This was not Jalen Hurts taking over a game, not Saquon Barkley doing what he did against the Rams. This took a team effort. Third down and medium. You hit a beautiful pass from Jalen Hurts to Dallas Goedert, gets that first down, and then the Eagles start marching down the field on Barkley's run, and that's what made it 21-12. Little things like that in a game against the Baltimore Ravens, they didn't do last year. I know they beat the Chiefs and the Bills last year. I know that. I'm aware. I watch the games. I watch every freaking game. But they didn't do it the way they did it today.
Right.
They looked like a Super Bowl team.
And today. They didn't do it in December.
They definitely didn't do it in December. That's an even better point. They definitely didn't do that in December.
It's very important because it kind of seems like this dark cloud kind of started looming over Philadelphia in mid-November last year and just really carried over all the way over into early September this year. So the fact that it kind of seems like they're past that storm theoretically could just mean the trajectory is just nothing but up.
What did I tell you last year about this team? I said I was like, they can't put a game away.
Oh, yeah.
They can't put a game away.
Yeah, which they couldn't.
No. And this year, against a great team, guess what they did? They put the game away. As soon as Baltimore didn't get that fourth down, I knew the game was over. Because I knew Philadelphia was going to. Now, Barkley fumbled, and thankfully he hopped back on that. And how about that, by the way? 5 fumbles in the game. None of them were lost, though.
Yeah, kind of crazy. Like I almost want to say what are the Baltimore Ravens doing, but that's just more like perplexing than it is.
I mean, 3 for the Ravens, 2 for the Eagles. Both teams recover their own fumble. Yeah. You're not going to get that lucky too often, so I recommend both teams do your ball security drills going into next week's. Well, the Ravens have off next week, but
yeah. Well, they can practice that entire time because
you logged.
Practice. I do got to say, though, I got to give Nick Sirianni credit for going right back to him the next run, because it was just listen, man, we all can make mistakes, but you're Saquon F. and Barkley. Like, it's fine. We trust you. So I appreciate that he was just like, we got the confidence in to say, like, you're good, dude. You're good. You've earned that. So that was nice to see.
Barkley getting over 100 yards. I didn't know if he was going to do it today because it's like the one thing the Ravens are going to try and do is stop Saquon.
Stop him.
Fourth quarter comes around, they couldn't stop him anymore. The dam broke.
Which is ironic because, again, it's like they're practicing against Derrick Henry, who's not easy to contain.
They're not practicing against Derrick Henry for 60 minutes.
Well, true.
They're not having the ball pounded down their throats for 60 minutes in practice. And if they are, then that makes Barkley's game even more inexcusable for that defense. But I just didn't think they were going to win today, even though I wore the jersey. And for those who know me, if I'm wearing the jersey, it means I think they're going to win. And I felt like I had to put on this jersey, which, by the way, it's
the best one. Yeah, it's one of the best ones. Yeah,
well, I hear all the time about this guy that played safety in Baltimore. His name was Ed Reed. He's an amazing safety, one of the greatest ever. Well, the Eagles also had an all-time great playing for them at free safety.
Yeah. The black dude. I'm sorry. The black Brian Dawkins jersey is just. Oh my God. It's one of the great. It's one of the all-time great jerseys in my opinion. But go on.
I just wasn't sure, Cameron. I really wasn't sure.
Oh, I know how you get to, man. You stress.
I'm going to stress next week against the Carolina. See the Panthers? They took another team to overtime today. Like they took the Chiefs down to the wire. They took the Buccaneers down to the wire today.
Yeah. I'm happy for Bryce Young, dude. I really am. I'm glad. I'm happy.
I'll be happy for him other weeks, not next week.
Well, I mean, yeah, sure.
But speaking of football, so let's talk about some of the things that happened in football, because, again, we missed a bit. Detroit Lions and Chicago Bears playing on Thanksgiving. That was
oh, God. Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's like one of the worst endings to a football game I've ever seen in my life.
I've never been more – I don't think I've ever been more frustrated watching football that was not the Miami Dolphins.
I almost broke my finger, Cameron. I was doing this. I was slamming the timeout at the TV as time is ticking. And I'm like, you're going to call timeout. And then when they took the snap, 4 seconds left, and he didn't spike it, I was just like, oh
my dude.
This is the game. The game's over.
Yeah. I just kept going like this. I was like,
tick.
What are we doing? What are we doing? Like, and I wanted the Lions to win. I didn't care. It was just like, this is just frustratingly stupid.
I said it on Blue Sky. And by the way, I am on Blue Sky right now. And I'll work on Fly Guys podcast getting on Blue Sky pretty soon. Yeah. But if the Bears don't fire Matt Eberflus tomorrow, then it just tells me they're not a serious organization. And the only thing they got right in the entire weekend is they fired him the next day, because that was the only logical thing you could do after a game like that.
Oh my gosh, dude. I mean, heart goes out to Caleb Williams. Best of luck, brother. Listen,
he's just as I don't accept this whole it was only Eberflus's fault.
Oh,
Caleb Williams has played football long enough to know you did not have all that time remaining. Why are you looking back to the sideline? Snap the damn ball.
Dude, we've all played Madden.
That's all you need
to know. That's all you need to know to call a timeout there. It's ridiculous. But I'm just saying no. I'm like in terms of the history of Chicago quarterbacks recently, Mitch Trubisky, head coach, offensive coordinator, fired for a season. Well, yeah, you're right.
All time.
Yeah.
The best quarterback they had was Jay Cutler.
Yeah. Yeah. Who won the Super Bowl? Jim McMahon, right? Jim McMahon.
Jim McMahon, he has a Super Bowl trophy, but yeah, if there's one thing I think about from the 85 Bears, it's, Jim McMahon and that Chicago Bears offense.
Yeah, Buddy Ryan had nothing to do with it. Well, I'm sure that's what Mike Ditka thinks, though. It was all Jim.
I think Ditka's smart enough to know why the 85 Bears are considered to be the greatest team ever. And it sure as hell isn't because of, even though it should be. It ain't because of the fridge running in a touchdown stealing. That's why you hate the fridge, right? That's why you hate him.
I don't hate the fridge. I don't hate the fridge. It's why I credit the 85 Bears to Buddy Ryan. That's the reason. Because you're gonna screw over one of the greatest running backs of all time for a guy who has a cool nickname. You tell me Walter Payton can't pound the line one more time?
Mike? The thing was, they asked Ditka about that when they did the 30 for 30. And he was just like, I didn't think about it. And all the Richard.
That's the problem.
Like, what do you mean you didn't think about it?
That's the problem. That's the problem, Mike. You didn't think about it.
Don't think. Mike Ditka, the same guy that'll trade the entire draft away to go get Ricky Williams.
Yeah. I can't believe.
All 7 draft picks.
The next closest thing, like what, the Mike Milbury when I don't even remember which one. Oh, Rick DiPietro. He signed Rick DiPietro to the whatever long contract.
At first, when you said Mike Milbury, I was like, did you mean to say like Matt Millen of the Lions? Oh no, we're going to hockey now.
Oh, that too. Matt. Oh my gosh, another one. Yeah, no. Every draft pick is wild, but yeah, no. Caleb Williams, like, dude, no, he's not. He's culpable as well, but it's just another bad situation. It's another bad situation in Chicago. It's just more like I feel bad for those fans, to be honest. It's almost like it reminds me of the Jets a little bit, which shout out to Aaron Rodgers for being like, I'm going to be out next season. Like they're going to sign you back, Aaron.
How about that game today? They blow the 21-6 lead and lose. It's just
Justin. I've told you 1,000 times. The Jets, brother.
The Jets are the Jets.
It's one of the few truths. It's one thing that Ben Franklin left out. It's one thing. The Jets are the Jets, man. They find a way. It's unbelievable.
You know, I wondered this, and this is an interesting question. I would love to also get thoughts from our audience too. Is Aaron Rodgers playing himself out of a top 5 or top 10 all-time quarterback conversation?
I don't know about top 10.
Top 5? You think can we leave him out of the top 5 based on the way the last couple of years have gone?
I'd have to go through my top 5, but I would most certainly say probably yeah. Because I mean, you got to think about even in his era. You got Brady, you got Peyton, you got Breeze, and that's not even counting guys like Marino, Montana. That's not counting Johnny Unitas, Favre. That's, you know what I mean?
The thing is like,
yeah.
I look at I look at the body of work and 5 NFL MVPs and all that stuff. Just phenomenal work.
Oh yeah.
But when after the 2020 NFC Championship game, the one that they lost to Tampa, the one that they lost to that jackass who does the 3-time Super Bowl loser that does the stuff for Fox Sports now. I still thought
200. I think he threw 2 interceptions that game.
Brady threw 3 interceptions.
3. Okay, 3 it was. Yeah, I knew it was.
Guess how many Rodgers threw?
He didn't throw any.
None.
Yeah.
But the thing is that because of the way that season went, and even in 2021 he was just as good. I'm like, yeah, like Aaron Rodgers is probably the 3rd greatest quarterback of all time. 2022, I remember watching the Eagles-Packers game and texting you and you being like, it's hurting me to watch what's happening to Aaron Rodgers at this point in his career. Because by that point you could tell the wheels were starting to come off a little bit. Last 2 years, the Achilles, and then this year, I think Rodgers has been, even though the numbers may not show it, I think pound for pound, Rodgers has been one of the worst quarterbacks in football this year.
It looks, and I think it's partially because it's Aaron Rodgers. Like you said,
there's a higher expectation for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he had the greatest touchdown interception ratio as of I'm pretty sure even going into with what's happening this year, he still has one of the best ever.
Yep.
Just an incredibly efficient quarterback. But so I think it's partially that. But like every time I've watched the Jets play, he just looks bad. Passes are off. They're behind. They're low. They're just not Aaron Rodgers throws. He's not on. Not only is he like not consistently on the money, he's almost never on the money, and that is so not like him.
And people talk about with Russell Wilson has often been credited as like one of the greatest down the field throwers of all time.
Yeah,
I often said I think Aaron Rodgers is still better than like Wilson in terms of downfield throwing, because I mean, ignoring even like the Hail Marys and everything.
Yeah, right, the ridiculous stuff. Yeah,
like but like when Aaron Rodgers threw down the field, he might have had a side like the smallest hole in the world you could fit it through, like the little hole that you see on top of a needle, and he could thread that easily.
Easily. Yeah, like the Jordy Nelson days. Oh my goodness, man.
Jordy Nelson, early days of Devontae Adams, Randall Cobb.
Yeah.
I still, like 2017, I think so much about that Dallas game where, he just throws that back shoulder throw to Devontae Adams to win the game. It's just like, and you're just like, yeah, that's Aaron Rodgers. That's what he does.
Yeah, and then you're watching now. And that's why another reason why I think a lot of people are frustrated with him, including myself, where it's like, there are other problems on the Jets, don't get me wrong, but that Steelers game where he was blaming so many, like, well, the first thing he brings up is Garrett Wilson not catching the one pass and it leading to an interception. I was like, okay, but all the other ones, man, you're throwing behind guys, and they're trying to do what they can do, and then it gets tipped up, it gets picked off. If you're not throwing behind them, it's not going to get tipped, and it happens so frequently. And it's like you could be upset with Gary Wilson for that one time. You could be upset that Mike Williams ran the wrong route, but when you're throwing behind guys time after time after time, you brought multiple receivers here. You already have Garrett Wilson here. You have a top 5 running back behind you.
Aaron Rodgers got to dictate what the Jets' future was going to look like. He got the head coach fired. He got to put in Nathaniel Hackett as his OC, and then, Hackett's not there anymore and everything like that. He got to bring in Alan Lazard. He got to bring in, forced them to trade for Devontae Adams. He got to choose so much.
Yeah.
Well, the Jets now need to make a choice here because ultimately getting rid of him isn't even a question, I think, for next season. He can't be the Jets quarterback. I don't think he should be a quarterback in the NFL next year. I think it's
not. I think it's I think this is. I brought it up earlier. This is his Marino.
This has to be his swan song.
Just hang it up. Just let it go.
But for the Jets, ever since you fired Robert Saleh, that defense has turned into an abject disaster.
It was so dumb. He was the one part of the Jets that I liked, honestly. He was one part of the Jets that I liked. And then you fired the GM. Okay, so the guy who drafted Gary Wilson, the guy who drafted Sauce Gardner, the guy who signed
Jamal Adams, too. Didn't he draft Jamal Adams, I think?
He might have. I don't know if he was there at that point. He might have. I could be wrong. But again, once again, Breece Hall, I don't think that guy who brought that talent is the problem.
No.
I really don't. I think he has a pretty good eye for talent. He probably listens to his scouts who are pretty good. He's negotiated solid contracts, and there's also rumors that the Jets owner is always obviously messing everything up and getting involved.
Woody Johnson is not a guy that you would say. I mean, he's like a Jerry Jones. He gets involved way too much.
Yeah, which is a problem.
I know that there was talk of Woody Johnson maybe having some sort of role in Donald Trump's cabinet. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I remember reading something about that. Which, if that happens, I'm not going to make any commentary on this right now. But if that happens, really.
Right.
Seriously? Are we kidding ourselves right now? My gosh.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening. But no, I don't. Yeah. It's I don't know. Bad ownership. Jerry Jones, another one. Look at the Cowboys now. I don't know why he signed Dak to that contract. I don't know. That's a whole other conversation.
But, Cowboys are on the come up. They've won 2 in a row. They win a drunk game against Washington, and then they Thanksgiving Classic against the New York Giants, which all the fans that watched that game let the tryptophan put them right into a food coma.
How dare the NFL let that be? How dare them let that be a product?
If they were smart,
how dare them?
Once Dak got hurt, and once the Giants cut Danny Dimes, you make the Packers and Dolphins game the 4:30 game, and you put that Cowboys-Giants game on Sunday night when nobody's going to watch it because no one's going to be awake for it by that point.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
Before we go, I also want to turn it back to the Flyers one more time before we wrap things up because, Flyers podcast, I don't know if you guys know that. Thanks for listening. When I mentioned my Flowers earlier, there was one guy that I forgot.
Yeah.
Because we trashed him a little bit, Mr. Frost. He comes back in the lineup after being scratched for a couple games, and we're thinking, well, you can stick a fork in this guy. He's done for. Scores a couple goals in his return since, including the game-tying goal against the Nashville Predators where the Flyers ended up winning that game. And I said it to you. I was like, this guy, he's the most frustrating player, but, man, he has a knack for scoring really clutch goals. Last year against the Islanders, the game that I went to, scores with 8 seconds left to tie up the game.
Yeah.
Morgan Frost, I think, has played better, and I think he deserves some flowers as well. We trashed him, but we also got to talk about when they do well.
Yeah. No, you're true. That's a very mature way to look at it, and that is the way to look at it because he has been playing well, and that's what we ultimately won. I'm afraid of trusting him. I'm not going to fully buy back in, but I'm very happy because again, it's a month earlier than he normally starts to turn it on, so that is at least a sign in the right direction. But I just need more consistent play from him. But jury's still out. The guy's 25 years old. I've always preached about how so many people were just already out on Couturier by the time he was 26, 27, and then he just becomes a Selke winner by the time he's 29. So got to give the kid a chance. And he's got 3 points, 4 points in the last 5 games.
Yeah,
and again, like you said, timely points, clutch points when you needed them. So
points if you score when it matters. it doesn't count for anything more in the stat sheet, but it kind of does. You give those stats some substance to them.
Yeah.
As opposed to being, Phil Kessel in a Maple Leaf uniform where he just fills up the stat sheet. But I mean, the Maple Leafs are finishing 13th in the conference every year.
Right. He's just slamming back hot dogs and just.
One guy I want to give a shout out to as well because he's had some rough puck luck lately. Joel Farabee, man, the puck's got to go in at some point. It has to.
I know. It seems like he's just been snake bitten all season. And again, I feel like I've said the last year and a half. So it's like, I don't know if it's snake bitten is the right word, but it's frustrating as hell because to me, Joel Farabee is to me what Morgan Frost is to you. He's the one you're rooting for.
I can understand that. I can understand why you feel that way. He's one we
actively talked shit for in favor of on this podcast a couple of years back. So yeah, for me, it's the guy I really want to see him do well. And I will say another guy who's has bad puck luck as well. Not on the Flyers. Just big shout out. Hopefully he gets okay. You see this thing about Matt Zuccarello, dude?
Matt Zuccarello? No. What's going on?
My wife texted me yesterday and she just says Matt Zuccarello with a bunch of question marks, and I'm like, what happened? Did we trade? Did he go to waivers?
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Well, for those who don't know, Matt Zuccarello, a gruesome injury, a ruptured testicle. He did not lose a testicle. He was able to keep both, thankfully.
That's good.
Any guy that's listening right now, go ahead and you can reposition. I actually have to reposition. Oh, my gosh.
Remember a couple years ago, the reason why I bring up the puck luck thing, remember a couple years ago, he took that shot to the head?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And he lost feeling. I was like, dude, Jesus, this guy. And then he got in front of another puck.
Lost feeling in that moment. He probably didn't lose feeling in this other moment.
He probably wishes he did. Oh, my goodness, dude. But heart goes out to him. I hope he gets okay. Like, oh, my God, dude, the worst nightmare. Every man's worst nightmare.
Brock Faber's shot in the first period. I'll tell you what. You block a shot and it goes there. I mean, that can cause testicular torsion, and you can not only lose, a testicle. You can die if the pain is great enough. The brain. I remember hearing this on a podcast one time. Only one time did someone get hit so hard here that they were talking about it that the brain was basically like, nope, screw that and screw you, and just died.
Shuts down.
Oh
my God. I don't mean to laugh. That's horrible, but
that
Jesus.
sounds like a horrible injury.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah. Well, speaking of bad puck luck, I figured.
Speedy recovery to Matt Zuccarello. Thanks for listening, buddy. Fan of the show, obviously.
Yeah. Figured that'd be a good way to end the show,
Yeah, definitely a good way to end the show. And with that, as the Fly Guys podcast comes to an end, we are presented by Bet Online. Be sure to follow us on X at Fly Guys Podcast. As I said, we'll get us working on Blue Sky, trying to get us on that. But as well, we're on Instagram at the Fly Guys Podcast. He is Cameron Klein. My name is Justin Goodhart. Thank you so much for listening. Be happy. Be healthy. Go Birds. Let's go Flyers. It's all on the come up right now. It's all coming up Philly.